What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Logical, Plausible, Probable. Today, we're going to do a quick live stream show to give everybody who's thinking about what they're going to do on this Monday night some ideas on some debates, some after parties, and different things they should be checking out and are not going to want to miss. And because this first debate I'm talking about is getting ready to kick off here in about 17 minutes, want to jump straight into my conversation with Smokey Saint, who, along with Godless Girl, is going to be taking on some folks about the whole, veganism, right, wrong, should we hurt animals, should we not, all those different elements of the topic. That's going to be happening over on Modern Day Debate here at 7 Central, 8 Eastern. And so, Smokey, thanks so much for coming on. Tell us a little bit about what is going to be happening on this live debate over on MDD that's getting ready to hop off soon.
Perfect. Appreciate it, brother. Thanks so much for having me on. Great. Yeah, we're just we're going to go on, and I actually think this is kind of a more interesting debate. I wish James had kind of like promoted it a little bit better. He's got an atheist and a theist tag teaming against two vegans. What other channel has such a thing? So I mean, right?
Well, that's definitely an interesting interaction there for sure. Like, hey, is there anything that atheists and theists can agree upon? Well, apparently it's vegans.
Apparently,
so that's a good thing. So, all right. So what? I know that. By the way, for anybody who has not seen the Godless Girl versus Tom Jump debate that was on MDD, you've got to go watch that. That was so hilarious.
Oh, it was amazing. I even told Godless. I said I've watched it like 4 times. You were incredible. Good show. It was great. It was I'm excited.
And all I have to say is the best part of that was when she goes, your validation of I is I, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I started cracking up, man. That was like a
debate. The part of the debate where she jumped in, it's like, okay, argue theism, I believe in God now, argue God against, it was just so pretty. Because then what happened is, what she did is she completely destroyed all of Tom Jump's presuppositional argumentation because he thought he was going against an atheist. Tom can't handle that. Tom couldn't handle that. Oh, it was beautiful, man. It was wonderful. So yeah, folks, we are doing this debate. It's going to be outstanding. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be enjoyable. And Smokey is going to host his own after party afterwards. It's going to be at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on my channel. Going to be doing an open mic. We're going to be doing the after party itself, answering some questions, and also a little light monologue that Smokey would like to get off his chest about the entirety of the scope of the Young Earth versus Old Earth debate. So please come by, check me out, and come enjoy the show.
Right on. So, are you gonna have? Is Godless gonna come join you as well on
I invited,
after party? Or
I did invite. She might stop in for a few minutes, so she certainly is welcome to do so if she gets there. So yeah, I'll bring her on if she pops up in side chat or something. Absolutely.
Okay. Now something I think is gonna be kind of interesting about this debate is going to be the whole. Does veganism require the existence of objective morality?
Well,
to me that seems. As a quick sidebar for in case religion is BS or Mike the Canadian Atheist happen to be seeing this right now. I saw your email. I've been at work. Anyway, yes, I'm up for round 3. Are you kidding me? Didn't we already establish this in our last debate that yes, we were down for a 3rd round? Like, did we back out of round 2? I don't think I'm going to back out of round 3, guys. Like, come on now. But anyway, sorry, Smokey. Back to what do you think about that? Does veganism require objective morality to exist?
Of course it does. Of course it does. But I think the beautiful thing that I think people will probably appreciate about my arguments this evening is that they're actually non-theistic and they don't need to be. In fact, there's plenty of very valid secularistic reasons that veganism is just a dumpster fire. So that's going to be kind of what I'm expositioning tonight. I'm actually really taking a theistic or a moral approach. Oh, well, okay. Let me backtrack. A light moral approach, because I am going to make their moral. I'm basically going to show, or at least the intention is, that their moral compass seems to always point to self, with a relatively oblivious level of understanding of what they're doing to their fellow man or what their policies might potentially implement on society. So that's going to be my approach, and of course, it's intended to tailor and work with the non-theistic position of my opponent. Hence, I tailored my pursuit in such a fashion.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay, so question I have for you is, what is your over-under on the vegan opponents flipping out? Like, do you think it'll be under or over 30 minutes into the debate?
I'm slightly worried that she might start crying.
Which who?
The girl on the other side, the
Okay.
annoying vegans. I'm so like I had a whole okay. Here's the deal. I had a whole like Smokey goes off version of my opening, and I scrapped that. Okay, I because here's the thing. I did do a little bit of preparing. I went and watched their videos and stuff, and they are truly sweet people. I think they're very confused. So my whole approach is to basically go in and tend to be kind of relatively soft, but pitching the case of like, can you guys help me reconcile these nightmarish issues you're intending to indoctrinate into our society? Can you help me come up with logical, reasonable rationalization to keep us from going into some sort of weird, bizarre economic vacuum? Can you really help me? Because if you can help me understand these things, and I don't see veganism as a potentially economic or cultural toxic influence, so then we're going to have some common ground. But the methodologies, the policies that vegans chase are morally nonsensical, and that's one of the things we're going to expose this evening.
Well, it's interesting. One of the things that I've always seriously questioned about the whole is veganism, as I love to say, logical, plausible, and probable. Of course, in this case, probability is a little bit less of a factor. Where is it logical and plausible with a reasonable mindset? But the whole, how can you be a pro-choice vegan? That question to me of because I've seen different articles and I've researched that myself a little bit, and I've seen it's like a question, an ethical question inside of the veganist movements.
Right.
And I'm like, really? You guys, this is even a question for you?
You mean like poaching, like actually like going out and poaching animals? Is that what you're talking about?
No. I'm talking about pro-choice in context of the
pro-life
versus pro-choice.
Sorry, you said pro-choice. I thought you said poaching. Like
sorry. No, pro-life versus pro-choice.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're on the same page. There we go.
Like I really have. I don't understand how that's even an ethical question for them. You would think that would be a very easy choice.
You'd think, and especially with their going on and on about sanctity of life. Well, while they also indirectly call for the genocide of entire groups of animals off of the farms. So, but anyway, it's going to be interesting to see how they respond, because they've said some things in their streams that puzzle me. And I genuinely do want the answers too, especially since they say that they seem to rescue farm chickens. Okay, interesting.
A quick interjection. Yeah. Everybody, if you want to hear something that's worthy of stand-up comedy, you need to go and observe whatever the reaction is from the vegans at the "what do we do about the eggs" question. Yeah. I'm guessing he's going to use in the live stream. Don't give it away, everybody. You're going to want to go over to the live stream on Modern Day Debate.
Give it away
and listen to this. But I'm predicting there'll be somewhere between 5 to 10 seconds of silence from the vegans, and then a bunch of mental gymnastics to try and answer that question. But sorry, go ahead, Smokey.
No, that's exactly kind of what I'm thinking too. I don't know if they. I feel like they haven't probably really ever debated before. If they have, I couldn't find anything about it. So I think this is a new experience for them, and they're kind of like thinking. They've probably lived in a culture and kind of like an urbanite center where they probably haven't had too much like direct challenges to this. So this might be very jarring to them. So I'm going to try to be gentle. But of course, naturally, as per Smokey, if they decide to go hard against me, well, Smokey's more than capable of doing the same thing.
It's interesting as you talk about that. And obviously in this context, we're talking about vegans and living inside their own little bubble. I find it interesting how the bubble mindset seems to apply in pretty much every aspect of society.
Indeed.
And I think it's being dramatically exacerbated in modern society, whether it be through identity politics or just niche interactions online, whether it be, hey, cool, yeah, I'm very heavily involved in Facebook groups, and literally everybody in your Facebook group thinks the exact same way as you. And you don't have any kind of dialogue across the board. But I also think there's a significant issue with how the walls around those niche groups have risen to such an extent that dialogue is starting to be it's it's not even real dialogue anymore. Like, yeah,
No.
the words are being exchanged, but
It's
no
sophistry.
real,
It's
ideals are being put back and forth and
Yeah.
actually analyzed
Yeah.
by either side.
Yeah, it is sophistry, and it's insurgence in our society. It's everywhere. People make terrible arguments, nonsensical arguments, because our entire society has disregarded the priority for possessing critical thinking skills. So this is just the byproduct of that. Our culture is suffering and sick because we don't know how to think or analyze things anymore. So it's sad.
I think the not to be too paranoid Machiavellian types, but to me, it seems that there's almost a aggressive push for people to convince people that it's not a good idea to do critical thinking about whatever is considered the status quo. And I think you and I know you and I have experienced this quite a bit in the aftermath of our tag team debates, right? You look at the comments and it's like, did you guys even listen to our arguments? It's like, what is your objection? Because I'm pretty sure I went through this, we went through this whole process, and I'm talking about either with the opponents or the people in the chat. And it's honestly amazing.
It is.
How there's like this stunning disconnect. The cognitive dissonance is quite
staggering,
apparent, and great word, staggering. Let's jump back over to the debate. So that is kicking off in here. What, 6 minutes?
About 6 minutes. Yeah.
Have you gotten the link from James yet?
He just sent it to me, so I should probably take off here a second. Yeah.
Awesome, man. So, well, everybody tonight, in 6 minutes, modern day debate. You need to hop over, and the Smokey and Godless Girl are taking on some vegans on that whole question. It's kicking off in 6 minutes, and then at 10 Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Pacific. 7 Pacific, right? Your time. You're having your live show or after party, right?
Yeah, at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Yes, sir.
Right on, man. Well, thanks so much for hopping in impromptu, and good luck on the debate, man. And I'm sure you guys will rock and roll and kick some tail.
Awesome, man. Take care. I'll see you later.
Later, man. Well, that should be a fun one, folks. And then, so at 8:30 over on Standing for Truth, Praise will be taking on Godless Engineer. So we've got Godless Girl on Modern Day Debate teaming up with Smokey, and then at 8:30 on Standing for Truth, we've got Praise versus Godless Engineer, and they're going to be discussing, I think it's Did Jesus Exist? I believe is the topic that they're tackling, which should be a very interesting one. I'm actually kind of surprised that Godless Engineer wanted to take on, did Jesus even exist? Not, hey, did Jesus raise from the dead? Did he perform miracles? Just, did Jesus exist? It seems like a pretty, I don't know if he was thinking too much in terms of taking on that particular challenge. That seems like a pretty tough one, in my opinion, if you even question the actual, did a person named Jesus exist in that time frame? And I don't know. We'll see. Should be an interesting one. So that one's kicking off at 8:30, and then, as I said, at 9 Central Time, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific is the after party on Smokey's channel, and I'm going to be putting all of that in. I'll be putting links to all of that in the description here in a few minutes, and that will get all y'all ready to roll for the get over to those live streams. Should be a good time. So I guess people texting me some funny stuff. Let's see. Okay, so here's the stream. Let's see. Praise and Godless Engineer. I've got. All right, so I'm gonna let this run for a few more minutes to get a little more promo in for Smokey Saint and Godless Girl. Everybody get over to Modern Day Debate. While we're waiting for all that, anybody want to hop on and discuss anything? Nicholas, I see you in the chat. You want to hop on and discuss any of the crazy things that have been happening in the last over this past weekend. I think there's been quite a bit of interesting dialogue and back and forth from a variety of parties that I think sometimes we get a little worked up about things that we don't need to be getting worked up about, or at least need to address in slightly more rational perspective. But all that to say, so a few more things are coming up this week. You've got on Wednesday night, Sal Cordova and Dr. Dan Stern Cardinal will be having round 2 of their debate over on MDD. They're going to be discussing genetic entropy, evolution, creationism versus evolution. That'll be going down, I believe, at 8 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday night over on Modern Day Debate. That should be a good one. I'm anticipating there to be quite a bit of pretty aggressive back and forth between the two of them. They kind of their round 1 was a little bit more diplomatic and a little bit less aggressive. Two academics going up against each other, and then I think this one may be a little bit more intense, shall we say, in what goes down Wednesday night. And then right now I'm attempting to schedule Sal Cordova as well tomorrow, potentially, to come over and maybe doing a conversation about the quaternary structure of proteins in much more detail. And then we're going to go into kind of dive into the security protocol aspects of cellular biology. One of the things I find extraordinarily fascinating is the prokaryote to eukaryote transition problem that is embodied in the transition, the required transition, which requires a dual authentication factor security protocol inside of the nucleus in terms of differences between prokaryote and eukaryote. So when you really think about that, the sheer number of proteins, membranes, lipids, all those things that are required that must be in place in order for something to be either prokaryote or eukaryote. When you really start to think about that, the stark dichotomy is an unavoidable reality. And I think it's something that we need to be asking the evolutionists to explain, not just, oh, hey, it happened over time. Or really? Okay. So let's explain it to me. It's let's really comprehend and consider what is actually being assumed to have occurred versus what is actually a logical, plausible, and probable conclusion. Nicholas, I see what you're talking about there in chat about the heart, blood, veins, and arteries. I agree with you. I mean, when you really think about the interconnectedness of these different protocols and the excuse or the supposed explanation of evolutionary pressures, which supposedly resulted in these outcomes, when you really start to break them down into their parts, are you actually claiming that these things are, where was the evolutionary pressure if none of these additional elements existed? If these functions that enabled the demand for these other elements, biological elements to exist, didn't yet exist, how are you explaining that there ever was an evolutionary pressure to select for it? If you've got, if your heart, blood vessels, veins, the blood itself, the hemoglobin, and they also require, your lungs, and the lungs require muscles, and all of your muscles require the most complicated proteins, several of those, all working in synchronicity in conjunction with other things like ion channels and nerves, cells, all these different things that are required. And then you factor in, wait a minute, you have to have the brain connected with the capacity to control and send the signals to execute all of the different cascade effects, which result in something as simple as closing your hand. I mean, that's who knows how many million functions and things are having to be done in synchronicity for me to be able to do this on camera right now, while simultaneously speaking, by the way. But when you really contemplate, you know, the processing capacity that is required for all those things to come into unison and work, it's like, okay, so you're arguing that over millions of years the heart developed, right? So what was it pumping? Did hemoglobin already exist? Did the lungs exist? Did the veins exist? Did platelets exist? I mean, when you really think about that, of yes, we can come up with a creative explanation of, hypothetically speaking, if all of these things happen perfectly, then we could result in this end outcome. But in any, as I say all the time, in any other context, it would not be considered a reasonable conclusion that this would actually occur, or would be rational to consider as a likely outcome. Now, let's see. I'm gonna go check and see if. So it looks like the debate has not yet kicked off for veganism. Veganism on trial. That one's going to be a funny one. All right, so I got a few minutes before we're gonna wrap this up and hop over and start watching the debates. Who is anybody in the chat right now that wants to hop on, give a few, share your thoughts and your predictions for in the debates tonight, whether it be the Smokey Saint and Godless Girl versus those annoying vegans, I believe is the name of the team that he's going up against, and then Praise versus Godless Engineer. Like, what do you guys think? I'd love to get your thoughts. If anyone wants to hop on for a quick second and give your predictions, I'd love to talk with you. Oh man, Stripper Liquor's talking trash over in live chat on MDD right now. But I was gonna. Okay, yeah. So veganism, or veganism on trial. That's on Modern Day Debate, and that one should be kicking off any minute now. They're looking at live chat. Looks like that one's getting ready to kick off. I'm guessing any minute now. As soon as that music kicks in, I'll let everybody know for sure. And then when I end the live stream, for some reason it's not letting me update the description, but I'm going to. Sorry about that. Everything froze. Okay, so what was I going to say? I'm going to put the links to both of the debates when I end up in the live stream. For some reason, it's refusing to let me update the description. While I'm doing this, let me see if I can grab it. Quick, post it in live chat. One second, everybody. Get you those links. Okay, so everybody don't forget, we've got, so kicking off any minute now is going to be the veganism on trial, and then we will have Praise versus Godless Engineer on SFT. Will be going down. And then it's over on Standing for Truth. And then at 9 Central, you will have After Party on Smokey's channel. So the link I just posted that's the MDD veganism debate. That should be starting any minute now. And then get the other one for Praise. Okay, and then Praise versus GE is it's over on Standing for Truth. For anyone wants those links, and then the after party for Smokey's, I will put that in the description when we get done with all of this. Yep, Refined Living. Yeah, Praise tonight, 8:30 on Standing for Truth. That's him versus John Gleason, also known as Godless Engineer, and they're going to be debating is the biblically Jesus historical? So I guess they're debating, did Jesus actually exist from a history perspective? And that should be a good one. And it looks like the veganism debate is not yet kicked off, so we're running a few minutes behind. Although I don't know about y'all, I'm pretty sure that James likes to get everybody all hyped up and sitting on edge, just waiting for him to grace us with his presence and get ready for live streams. We'll just pretend the year's in 2020. I tell you what, 2020 is hands down the strangest year of my entire life. I thought I'd gone through some weird stuff. I'll tell you this: nearly the year I nearly died has been less nuts than this one. Like this year has been weird, and I have the feeling it's going to get even more bizarre by the time 2021 kicks in. I think we're ready for some madness. I haven't seen too many things that make me anticipate life getting too much better. Like just here in Nashville yesterday, or well today, it officially went into effect that we're supposed to wear masks both inside and outside, but then they gave exceptions to all of the government buildings, which to me is bizarre. Like, wait a minute, did I just read this correctly? The politicians have just mandated that private citizens don't have a choice whether or not they can wear or not wear a face mask in public, but granted themselves an exception. And I'm supposed to take you seriously when you grant yourself an exception to your own mandate? I mean, that to me, that is just, it's like, do you actually think I'm that stupid to think that you're not full of crap to issue those sorts of initiatives and mandates, but exempt yourself? I mean, to me, that's a very common tactic that we've been observing in all levels of government for quite some time, which I think is, it's why we're in so many of these positions we are in society, across on the federal level, state level, and municipal level. It's we've reached, I think we're at the very close, if not already past the point of no return on some of these things, just from an economic standpoint. Like my city, Nashville, we have the highest unfunded liability rate of any major metro in the United States, period. Now there's others that the total number of debt is greater than ours, but in terms of the unfunded portion of it, nobody's bigger than Nashville. Okay, folks, it looks like the veganism on trial debate is kicking off right now over on MDD. Let me repost that link in live chat for anybody who wants to hop over there and get into it. So that's the debate for veganism. Nicholas, less nuts for you personally. Oh, no, it's been, no, what I was saying, Nicholas, was the year that I almost died was less weird than 2020. I felt that 2020 has been more bizarre than that one. And at the time, I went through more personal upheaval than any other point in my life, and hope at any point after, in terms of just the sheer madness. But overall, 2020 is nuts. I mean, sometimes I often wish that I was much less informed from a historical perspective and a political perspective, scientific perspective, all those different things. That whole aspect of, is ignorance bliss? I often contemplate that of, would life just be easier if I could flush a whole bunch of a lot of the knowledge I have in my brain, if I could just flush it down and no longer have to consider the ramifications of my decisions, my actions, and yeah, it's weird. But all right, I think I'm going to wrap up this little short live stream. I'll put the links in the description for the veganism debate, praise, and then Smokey's after party. So remember, modern day debate is going down right now for the veganism trial, and then at 8:30 Central Time over on Standing for Truth is praise versus godless engineer. Is Jesus historical? So did Jesus actually exist? That's going to be going down Standing for Truth, 8:30 Central Time over on Standing for Truth. Everybody, thanks so much for swinging by for this little short live stream. Hope you're having a good one. And as you consider all of the things that are happening in the world and contemplating your own existence and how we came to be and what are the questions you should be asking about your life and purpose and all those components, make sure your conclusions are always logical, plausible, and probable. Thanks so much, y'all.